Hello everyone, I'm Sritesh. I'm currently pursuing my Bachelor of Commerce from St. Joseph's College of Commerce. I've done two internships, one as a financial analyst at Fiscal Aid Advisory Private Limited and as a marketing intern for Little Smiles organization. Apart from that, I've also helped my father at a retail store which we have. So I'm a BCom fresher who had interview calls from all the IIMs. So one of my prime focus, which was also my best call, was IIM Ahmedabad, and this is the experience that I would like to share today. So being fully aware of the importance that the interview call carried, I was nervous and trying to prepare myself to the maximum for the interview. I very clearly remember that my interview was on March 8th because it was also International Women's Day on the same day. So I had prepared a little bit on that as well, but I remember the date because of the International Women's Day and so on. So my interview was scheduled in the afternoon. So it was around 1:30 to 2 p.m. and the slot number that I was having was number two. So I was second in the interview call. So IIM Ahmedabad typically carries out their interview process in two stages. So one is the AWT round that we have, which was an offline writing round, and a second is the interview part. So one thing that IIM Ahmedabad did differently is they conducted an online interview in an offline center of different cities. So there were around 8 to 9 cities that were chosen, and Bangalore was also one of them. And since I'm also from Bangalore, I had to go to a center nearby and then get my interview done. So it was a very seamless process. And post in retrospect, I actually encourage Ahmedabad. I actually appreciate them taking the time to arrange the centers because the process was extremely smooth. So I tried to prep myself on my academics, which was my BCom that I was currently pursuing, and all of the various internships that I had done, my various hobbies, and the various kind of HR questions that were typically asked at interviews. So on the day, I tried to have like around 2 hours of buffer time, which was actually huge. But I did not want to be late at any cost, so I left my home at around 10 a.m. in the morning. I reached the center at around 12, and I had gone in a car by myself. And for around 1 hour, I was sitting at my car and just going through the notes that I had prepared for myself. So at around 1 or 1:30, I tried to go into the center and try to inquire what the process would be. So I was actually expecting an online AWT wherein I had to type out the answer. So I had prepped myself for that. But going in, I understood it would be an offline session and I would have to write it in one sheet of paper. So there itself, even though it was a little bit different from what I had planned, I made up my mind and I figured out what I would do. So an AWT typically consists of 20 minutes. We are given 20 minutes of time and typically one paragraph based question. So it is a typical question that's borrowed from the GMAT prep, and wherein we are asked one case scenario and where we have to find out various policies, support or weaken the argument and so on, and build an argument and come to a suitable conclusion. So in my case, while this was the standard that was followed, I was actually given one picture and I was asked to comment on that picture. So I was knowing that it was International Women's Day. I thought something of similar nature might come up. So I was prepared with some facts also. But the image that was actually shown in the question sheet actually surprised me because I wasn't ready. I never expected, or even during my preparation time, I never expected to write an essay based on a picture. So the picture was, if I'm not wrong, it was the people of ISRO celebrating the launch of a rocket or a missile or something of that sort. So this was the picture, and there were I think around 6 to 7 women celebrating and a couple of men on the back side. So we were asked to comment and elaborate on this picture. That's it, nothing else. So, having like a structured thought, I sort of approached this picture in a pessimistic way. So the way I took it as the way I took it was to highlight that women are sort of repressed in the society, and this sort of a instant wherein we see only women celebrating is sort of our way of marginalizing the society. So I know this is a very extreme stance, but this was one that I had good clarity on, and I also had good points on. So this is the way I approached the AWT. I sort of built my paragraph using quotes in the start, building pointers for the main course, for the main content, and then giving out the conclusion saying what's the situation of women and how it can be improved. Here, I also brought in the fact of other courses such as commerce, arts, that are also not considered too great in today's scenario, but also have a very important role to play in the society. So I also brought in the aspect of inclusivity in my AWT. So I knew that there might be some questioning, but I also thought, since I'm writing it on a paper, and since my interview was going to be in an online mode, there wouldn't be any sort of a questioning. But that's a twist that I would like to keep for a later part. So then we were asked to wait in the waiting rooms, and then when my turn came, which was second in the round, as I mentioned, I was called in for the interview. So even going in, I was quite tensed. So I knew the sort of importance that that 1 hour would carry, and yes, so there was a lot of thoughts flashing in my mind. And as soon as I entered the interview room, it was two huge TVs. Huge in the sense it was around 42 inches, or the next size is 56 inches probably. So two huge screens with two professors seated, and there was one huge webcam also that was I guess in the center of these two screens, that was facing directly at me, and I could see my video in the top corner of the right side screen. So I could see myself, I could see the both the professors. Both the professors were seated and they were also smiling. That sort of gave me a very positive start, I would say. And then I excused myself and I took a seat, and then the interview started. So there was a casual greeting toward in the start, and the professors, I guess, were going through my profile at that time. So immediately the interview started, and they asked if I was a BCom graduate who is currently pursuing, and I nodded persuasively. And then they asked me which my favorite subject was. So I gave them a list of a couple of subjects, which was started with financial management, financial accounting, and so on. So one of the professors, the one on the left, took up financial management and asked me what it was about, just generally, casually. And I'm not exactly sure why I gave this answer, but I actually told financial management is management of finance. So which actually which I did not mean, but it came out that way, and both the professors started laughing. So, and then I told, I'm so sorry that it came out that way, but what I actually meant was, there are various sources of finance that a company can borrow. So people take in money, how they utilize it, and how they give out the return. So financial management is concerned with these three aspects primarily, among others. And the professor was also convinced. So then the professor on the left started asking me questions regarding my subject knowledge, is what I assume in retrospect. So the first question I was asked was, what do you feel about startup valuations? So since I was a finance major as well, I think this question came up, and uh, my basic answer was that startups are a very different thing, because they do not have any backstory. and the valuation is based on returns they might generate 10 years, 15 years into the future. So I explained my thought process uh, as to how I came to this conclusion and what metrics I would use to value a startup. So even though it was very crudely put, I think they appreciated my thought process, and then I went on to the next question. So the next question was about NPAs, which is non-performing assets that we usually find in the books of banks, public banks, private banks, etc. So I was asked what these NPAs are, where do they come in the balance sheets, how are they reflected, what sort of an impact it has on the profitability. Uh, so I was able to answer all these questions. So I had read about these things. So while I was going through news articles and so on, so I was able to go through these questions. But in the while answering these questions, I also understood that I was sort of shivering, like like now how I'm shivering. I was also shivering the same way, and the conversation was not as natural as expected. So I tried to ease up, so I tried to calm myself at that point, and that was when the professor on the right started. So as I had mentioned, it was a offline AWT that we had. So I thought anyway they would not have the paper and it would be evaluated post my interview. But that was a very wrong assumption. And while the professor on the left was asking me questions, the professor on the right was going through the article that I had written. So he actually took up the points that I mentioned. In fact, he took up every point that I had mentioned and asked me to justify the same. Starting from the quote, which was a very pessimistic quote, he asked me why I'm taking such a pessimistic view, right? He asked me about my pessimistic view. He also asked me about if the scenario is so bad, then why are so many women excelling? And he tried to counter my points, and I tried to justify my viewpoint as well. So, 2 points that I mentioned, one about women and one about inclusivity of various career choices like commerce, arts, and so on. So, he picked up both, and there was a clear, good discussion of around 3 to 4 minutes, I'd say, around the same topic. So, one thing that I say is never make any assumptions and have an open mind. So, if you have mentioned something, you would have mentioned it for a reason, and you can genuinely try to tell the professors your sort of a reasoning as to why you mentioned the same. So my excuse for being so pessimistic was that it was a point of national concern, and through my writing, through my article, I wanted to bring that out, courtesy of having International Women's Day on the same day. So I think the professor was quite justified about the same, and then we went on to the next topic. So next we went on to the various hobbies that I had. So I started telling about my theater, about the shop that I was going to, and so on. But they picked out the last thing that I told. So at the end, I told I watch anime, which is Japanese comics, for entertainment. So for leisure and entertainment, I watch anime. So when I told this, the professor on the left caught this point and he started asking me more on it. I never expected that a college professor would be so aware about comics and all these sort of things. But yes, he definitely knew about it. And when I told the anime that I do watch, there was further questioning on it as well. Being a very interested fan of that anime, my eyes also lit up during that part. So, and I think even the professor understood that because he was also smiling seeing the way I was answering. So, one thing that I'd say here is that no matter what hobby you have, don't try to fake it. If you genuinely have a hobby, do mention it. And the moment you show passion, right, the passion will come out in your eyes, in your words, and it definitely reflects on the professors as well. So it definitely gives a good vibe, and your interview process will be much smoother. So then the professor on the left started asking me about current affairs. He asked me about which current affairs I am following and what I've read through in the news and so on. So at that time, there was Hindu-Muslim riots going on the southern coast of Karnataka. So I told about the same, and the questions that were asked by the professors were not related to that particular event, but they wanted to see the kind of depth that I went through when I read through these articles. So they basically asked me the genesis of such a feud that is going on in that belt, because this is not the first time, and such instances occur every 6 months or so. So they wanted to see the depth of knowledge that I had in that situation, and that was clearly visible. So even I had read about the issue very clearly, so it helped me in answering the question to the best extent possible. So post this, I was asked by the professor on the right if I had any other questions. So which is typically the last question that is asked in an interview. And I was almost getting up and walking out of the room when the professor on the left asked me to stop, and he told if he can ask me some more questions. So I was really happy to hear this, because if a professor is spending more time, it is usually a positive indication. So I told absolutely, sir, you can ask me any number of questions, and he started asking me about mathematics. So he asked me how do you find the minima or maxima of an equation, and I told it can be done using differentiation and double differentiation. So I'm not sure if he expected this answer, because he was ready with a reply key. Are you sure that's the way? So even I told positively, yes, sir. So for which he gave me an equation. He told me, use your logic and tell me the minima maxima of x cubed. So I tried to do the differentiation, and I was getting zero as the answer. So I told him ki I did my process, sir, but I feel since it's a cubic equation, there would be one local minima and one local maxima. But in this equation, I'm not able to find. Can I try another method? So I told, as soon as I told this, he was like, sure, sure, you can try any other method if you have. So then I drew the actual graph of this equation, and I showed him, so this would how the graph be. So since it's a continuous line, I think the minima, maxima, both are at the same point, and it would be at zero. So even though he did not accept it positively, he told okay, and then he moved on. So he then asked me about probability. So he asked me what the probability would be when one coin is tossed for 100 times. What's the probability that I would get only one head and 99 tails in a coin toss? So for which I told 0 0.5 to the power 99, because it is one positive event and other negative events, right? So I took the negative probability, and I told him this would be the probability. So then the professor on the right started following up on this, and he asked me, uh, when would you tell that a coin is balanced or a coin is genuine? For which I told, if a regular coin toss, we would get 50-50 possibility, 50% tails and 50% heads. So in a large number of tries, if we get 50% as the answer, it would be a regular coin. So for which he asked me if we get 75 heads and 25 tails, is it a regular coin? For which I told might not be so, sir, but I would need more data to evaluate. So for which he told, okay, so what would you tell for a 60-40 coin? For which I told maybe, but I would need further data. So for which he told, now you are given these sort of scenarios. How would you determine, how would you draw that line, whether it is 50 or whether it is 60 or whether it is 75, that the number of heads must be to evaluate whether a coin is genuine or not? So immediately when he asked this question, I thought of a normal curve. So if we look at a normal curve, it typically follows a bell shape, and it is used typically used in situations when the probability of an event is 50% or close to 50% at least. So I tried to draw the curve, and then I tried to show him how the normal curve would look like, and we would have to take standard deviations to find the actual frequency, to find the genuinity of the coin. So he asked me various questions like what's the x-axis, what's the y-axis, how have you determined the probability, how do you determine standard deviation, and so on. So I tried answering to the best of my knowledge, and I also told that if we take an event with three standard deviations from the mean, which is at the center, we would actually get the accuracy to 99.7%, and we would be able to tell that the coin is genuine. Even though there are exceptions to this case, it genuinely gives us one proper scripture, and it is one that is typically followed. So this was the kind of explanation that I had, and I could also see that the interviewers were quite satisfied with my explanation. So that was when my interview actually ended, and while I was about to get up and leave, the professor on the right asked me to take a toffee. So there was a bowl of toffees, and this is a process. This is an act or something that's typically followed in an interview. So when I took that toffee, there was a big smile on my face, and I tried coming out the interview room. So the moment I came out, the first reaction that I got from the people sitting there were, "How long have you been in, and how long have you been in this interview? Do you even know that?" So I didn't know that, and it had actually gone on to almost 45, 50 minutes. So it was an extremely long interview, and I'm sure you would also know it by the explanation that I gave, which basically happened during the interview as well. So it was a long interview, and having that toffee in my hand, I was extremely happy, that there were certain good aspects that went in the interview as well. So typically, this was the smile. Like, as you can see at the end of the explanation, also, I'm having this big smile. And this was also the smile I had at the time of the interview. So one thing that I would like to point out here is that in retrospect, right? So the kind of the example of the normal distribution that I gave is also followed in statistics. So in statistics, there's a concept called theoretical distribution, wherein we use this normal curve and other frequencies and other data to figure out whether our hypothesis of of the coin being genuine is possible or not. So in my own crude way, I tried to put this up, and I tried to explain the reasoning behind the concept. So this was how my interview took place, and fortunately on May 6th the result also came out, and I converted my best call, which was IIM Ahmedabad, and I'll be joining them for their PGP program. So I'm looking forward to all these things. It was a wonderful interview. There were various sections that the professors tested, so it was a very balanced interview in that aspect. So to all the people who are going to give their IIM Ahmedabad interviews, one thing that I would like to tell is that you need to have a good clarity, right? So clarity in the sense, not just in your academics or your work experience, which is very, very important. As you can see, majority of my questions were based on the academics that I had, but also in your life choices, right? Why did you take up a particular internship? Why did you take up a particular job? Why do you want to do an MBA? What do you aim to get out of an MBA? Do you have clarity on all these things, right? So once you have good clarity, and once you're well aware about your past, about yourself, you would be very confident in an interview, and that confidence would be visible as well. Another thing that I would also tell is that you must be genuine in an interview. So any type of faking, the professors will be able to pick it up very easily. And being genuine is also expected. You are a management candidate, and it is important that you show genuinity even at the tough times, right? Even though I had the pressure of an interview on me, being genuine, being natural is what would cool that entire process and make it smooth. So these are the two things that I would like to tell to any candidate who is preparing for their interviews. And I'm definitely looking forward to the 2 years. So hopefully, given chances, I would come back and speak to you again. So I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you. Thank you so much.